Lads! I had to do a crescendo because today we're talking about Orcust, boys! That's right! It's back. We finished it. Well, I finished it. It's my baby. Look, this is a deck that my new editor... what a way to introduce him. Yeah, so HavreCardMan and I worked on this deck together. It's fun, and we've I've slimmed it down to a 40 card list. I bulked it out to 60, I brought it down to 50, and then I decided that's not consistent enough! So we made it 40, 50, how many? It's 40 cards. It's 40 cards. We made it 40 cards. It's so much, even more consistent and annoying, and everybody hates it. It's lovely, and I love it. Yeah, so we are going to babble on about this, and we are going to do the return to Orcust. So, without further ado, because I'm out of Orcust puns, yeah, let's just crash some symbols and get into this deck profile. Alright, so we're going to dive right into the deck profile, and we're going to start with the lovely Orcust package, my personal favorite, deck of all time. So 3 copies of Dingirsu, the Orcust Mech Knight, being able to Foolish Burial on summon, and then being able to also summon a token and start your entire Orcust combo. It's really beneficial. This is one of your play starters, and it's probably the worst one, but it also can double as an extender depending on what your opening hand composition is. Next is going to be 2 copies of Orcis Nightmare. Orcis Nightmare lets you dump whatever you need to be dumped from the deck. You can play this deck a little bit more on a budget if you lessen the rarities on some of these cards, but I love this deck and I have it all in max rarity, so almost all in max rarity, so I have it, you know, blingy. But Orcis Nightmare is amazing. Being able to also boost the attack points can actually matter depending on game states. 2 copies of Orcust Symbol Skeleton. It's Monster Reborn. This could come in clutch in grind games and early game. This is probably the best Orcust name currently in the game, in my opinion, especially for grindier games, just because it's so easy to recycle and do stuff with. 1 copy of Brass Bombard. Now, a lot of people will say that this card is terrible, but based on how the deck is built, if you open this plus another play starter, your Dingirsu plus another play starter, you're able to do everything, and then use this as an extension, which is super helpful. 2 copies of World Wand. It's a travesty that this doesn't come in super rare. This is your Monster Reborn except from Banishment, which is really nice for your Orcust cards. It's super helpful, especially in, like I said, the grind games. And even not in grind games, just as part of your combo line, this card is incredibly useful. 1 copy of the honorary Orcust card, Gizmek Orochi, the Serpentron Sky Slasher. Jeez, that is a mouthful. This card can help you win games with cards from your extra deck like Zeraboros, and its usefulness to the deck is quite understated. That being said, it's a really powerful card and can actually help you OTK with part of the going second strategy of the deck. We've got 1 copy of Orcust Babble. Babble is the field spell. This card turns everything into quick effects. Anybody that's played against this deck knows that that is probably one of the most problematic cards in the entire strategy. 2 copies of Orchestrated Return. It's draw 2, and it puts a card you needed from your hand in your graveyard, so it's no downside. It's just a good card. 1 copy of Orcust Crescendo. It's an Omni Negate, and it lets you search a Dark Machine. So that's going to do it for the Orcust package. Let's move on to the next package. Next up is the Scrap package. So we're starting out with the new boy, Scrap Raptor, or Scraptor, if you will. Scraptor here is incredibly useful. Being able to pop himself, add another one, or add a factory, and then giving you an additional normal summon can really be huge. And depending on what your hand is, I've used this card as bait. That's how powerful this card is, just to be able to give you that additional normal summon. So like popping it, yeah, if they ash it, that sucks, but like you can play around it. because of how the deck is constructed. There's some ways to play around that, and it's great. Scrapter, it's super useful. There's a ton of ways to search it, so this card's just great. 3 copies of Scrap Recycler. This is the best combo starter in your deck. If you open just this, you have full combo. That's how powerful Scrap Recycler is. But Recycler is a Foolish Burial on summon. And it's not a once per turn. And that's the part that's dumb. 2 copies of Scrap Golem. This is Monster Reborn for your scrap cards. And it's not a hard once per turn. Yes, we abused the crap out of not hard once per turns. You can basically reuse these combo cards depending on like the next, especially with this next card, so I'll show you that next. Scrap Factory. Scrap Factory, when a scrap monster is destroyed by a card effect, you are able to summon another scrap card from your deck. And that's insane. So you can essentially get 2 Scrap Golems out and really abuse the crap out of your Scrap Recyclers, which sounds awful when you put it like that, but it's so true and it's so powerful that you can't, I can't understate it. Like, I can't overstate how powerful Scrap Factory with the Scrap Package is. 2 copies of Scrap Yard. This searches Scrapter. 2 copies of Fossil Dig. This also searches Scrapter. So essentially you're running 7 copies of Scrapter in this deck, and that's really nice. And it basically just gets all of your combo lines started. This package, while not super big or super small, it's just kind of, it's actually kind of big, but it's so useful and versatile and good in grind games that you have to play it. And that's it for the Scrap Package. We're gonna move on to the next package. All right, supplemental engine time, here we go. Okay, so because I built this to go second, I wanted to play some really powerful and unfair cards. So I started with Machina Citadel. Machina Citadel is, well, a 1-card board wipe. This card's insane. Being able to pop a machine to blow up everything weaker than it is huge. Pair it with Dingirsu. Dingirsu protects itself. The only cost of this card is targeting. It attempts to destroy, and it destroys everything. It's a simultaneous destruction, and because of that, Dingirsu can protect itself. So this card's crazy. And it can summon itself when a machine is destroyed, which, if you know anything about the Scrap Package, it does that. 1 copy of Machina Fortress. This is an extender. If you open a bunch of things in your hand and you need, like, they ash your Scrap Recycler for whatever reason, you have a couple other machines, or even just one other machine, you can pitch this in that machine and then summon it, and now you've got full combo anyway, and it makes your opponent scream profanities. Next up is going to be 3 copies of Urgent Schedule. Yeah, I play Urgent Schedule too. So if they ash you or anything one of the coolest things you can do with this deck is going second. You could use Urgent Schedule to kind of just do whatever you need it to do. I've used this card as like, I bait everything else out and then I Urgent Schedule, or I'll lead with Urgent Schedule, force the ash, and then I just full combo anyway because I had a Scrap Recycler or a Scrap Raptor in hand. And it makes your opponent just go, what? But, okay. It's great. It's a really fun feeling to have. Moving on, we have 1 copy of Crystron Rosnix. You have to run this card. It's part of the combo if you only open like Scrap Recycler. 2 copies of Fiend Sanctuary. Fiend Sanctuary is an extender. The deck needed more extenders, and this is one of the best extenders without it costing you hand advantage. One of the things that this deck could really struggle with is if you run the dangers, while they're good, they can also cost you cards in your hand that you need, or would force you into lines of play you don't necessarily want to go down. I found that this didn't cost me anything, and I didn't care. Next up is going to be 1 copy of World Legacy Succession. It's Monster Reborn, it's part of the combo. And then finally, triple copies of everybody's favorite card in the world, Dark Ruler No More. It negates monster effects. So going second, if you open Urgent Schedule and Dark Ruler No More, you probably win. Because you're going to break their board, and then they're stuck looking at a field with a bunch of ways to interrupt them, and they have minimal to no recovery. And even if they ash you or something, like anything else in your hand is just good. And it's 6 cards, in your 6 opening cards, if you open these 2, you're likely to see another starter. When I did the math, I think you have higher chances in this 40 card list of opening 2 or 3 starters than you do of opening 0, which is insane. Mathematically speaking, that's insane. So we're gonna go ahead and move on to the extra deck, and then we'll hit the side deck. All right, extra deck. So we're running 2 copies of the it's my girl, it's Galatea. Galatea is everything. It's the lifeblood of this deck. It sets Orcust Babel. If you already have Babel, it sets you a return or a crescendo. It recycles your cards. You don't have to set if you don't want to. Being able to recycle cards is incredibly powerful in this deck. I thought when the banning of the Eternal format came, I thought for sure Galatea was going bye-bye. Because Galatea is just that powerful. Next up is 2 copies of Dingirsu, the Orcust of the Evening Star. On summon, it's got some effects. So first off, you can special summon this card by overlaying on a Orcust Link monster. So that's really nice. But to make that even better, when it's special summoned, not Xyz summoned, special summoned, you can either A, send a card on the field to the graveyard. Yes, Orcust is a natural out to things like Dragoon. Or you can attach a dark machine monster, or just a machine monster, from your banish pile to it as a material. And then as an effect that does not activate, when a monster on your side of the field would be destroyed, you can detach one and prevent the destruction. That's really good. Next up is Dingirsu. Dingirsu just is able to yeet things out of existence, and that's always nice. This card doesn't come up as often as I would like it to. This next card doesn't. But it's so good in the situations where it comes up and I had the space that I had to run it. And that would be Orcustrian. So Orcustrian is... so this guy, Dingirsu's effect requires you to shuffle in 2 banished machines and lets you send a card that a link monster points to the graveyard. Orcustrian, he's a big old jerk bag. So what he does is if he shuffles in 3 banished machines and he negates the effects of the monsters he points to and turns their attack and defense to 0. Yeah, it's great. You get 3 resources back and you get to create a new fisting hole. Am I allowed to say that on YouTube? Oops. Censor me. Yeah, and that's it for the Orcust cards for the extra deck. It's not super big, but it doesn't need to be. And I'm OCD, so I have to stack them properly. Next up is Link Kuribo. It's part of the combo. Barricade Board Blocker, which is part of a different combo, but it's here because I needed the extra card, and I had the space because I don't actually use my extra deck as much as people think. 2 copies of Scrap Wyvern. Wyvern is part of the combo. And finishing out the Link 2s, we've got 1 copy of Lib and 1 copy of IP. So you will always need these cards. This card is for side decking, which you'll see in a second what I mean. So Link Kuribo, you use it for your Dingirsu plays, and it also works with any other level 1s, like if you're given tokens by dinosaurs, for example. It just gives you an out to those things. Barricade Board Blocker is, well, it's a dark monster, and it's important in a moment you'll see. Scrap Wyvern, you want to run 2 because you can do this again in the grind game when your opponent's not expecting it, and it really is fun to watch their entire world fall apart. I'm a sick man. Scrap, its second effect on after summoning one from deck and blowing up a card on the field, just any card on the field, that's insane. Lib is good in tandem with IP for a lot of reasons. So first off, it gets you your World Legacy Succession for free for no reason at all, just because. But also when it's used as link material, you can yeet a card off the field back into the deck. Like, that's really nice. So you can use these 2 to make, let's say Unicorn, okay? Now, by discarding a card, you get rid of 2 cards on the field for no reason, just cause. And then IP Masquerena, because I can link on my opponent's turn, and that's always fun. The final 3 cards are Rusty. You didn't see the Phantom Knight package, and I'll explain why in the side deck. 1 copy of Nightmare Unicorn. This is my pretty one. Look how pretty. You can't really see Collector's Rare really well, but this is my Collector's Rare one. It's so pretty. So, Unicorn yeeting cards, Rusty, stupid amounts of advantage. And finally, one copy of Topologic, Zeraboros. This is like, okay, we're in a grind game and I want to win. Zeraboros. That's it. If it gets into a grind game with this deck and I pop this thing on the board, you're probably dying. And it's not even gonna be fun. It's just a big old boy at that point. So, that's it for the extra deck. Now, I guess it's time for everybody's favorite part, the side deck. All right, side deck time. So, let's start off with the things you know that are coming, and that would be the Phantom Knight package. Okay, so this is it. It's 4 cards. If you're going first, the cards you're going to pretty much always take out are Citadel and your 3 Urgent Schedules. And if you're taking those out because your opponent's trying to make you go first, these cards are going in. Because they're that good. They're wild. Being able to get 2 additional monster negates on field for no reason is really nice. You don't need Citadel in that situation because Citadel is a better going second card in my humble opinion. And this is just, it's really good. So this is the entire Phantom Knight lineup. This is in case you're going first. You want to have options because the deck isn't designed to do it. Next up is all stuff for control decks or combo decks. And that will be first, 3 copies of Evenly Matched. I'm a monster. If you're playing against the deck that just builds a really big board, Dark Ruler No More plus Evenly Matched breaks boards. And it's disgusting how often it's happened that I've actually opened both. It's pretty gross. 3 copies of Nibiru, more ways to deal with combo decks. And finally, 1 copy of Imperial Order. With Sky Strikers getting engaged back, I had to have a way to deal with it. That's my way to deal with it. Next up is going to be the Ever Lovely, my personal favorite. This is all a lie. But this is to deal with control decks, like other decks you've seen on my channel. 1 Pankratops, it's Pankratops. 2 copies of Twin Twisters, back row hate, and I like cards in my graveyard. And 1 Red Reboot, because I don't want to deal with trap cards. And that's the whole story. That's it. That is the entire deck profile. So, God, I love that deck! Ah, it's so good! I didn't do a combo tutorial this video, and I have a reason for that. I didn't want to do it. That's it. That's the whole reason. I will happily do a combo tutorial in the future. Probably for next week's video, we'll do a combo tutorial on just how stupid this deck is. Or we'll do interviews with people that have played against it. And they'll tell you, like Chris. Chris will tell you how annoying this deck is. He'll happily tell you how annoying this deck is. Duke will also tell you how annoying Orcust is. This deck is, yeah, he's flipping me off right now. It's great. This deck is amazing. It's super fun to play. Is it a top tier deck? I'd like to believe it is, but in my heart, I know that it would struggle in large events. In a multi-round, 10-round event, it would have its weaknesses, and it would be exploitable. However, that being said, could you cheese out some wins and maybe even top with this deck? Abso-freaking-lutely you could. This is a very powerful deck. Do not underestimate just how powerful. Breaking into a crescendo, song and dance on a flute with a Galatea and a Dingirsu playing on the Longirsu with an orchestrion ready to roll. I am so hyped! This is the most energy I think I've ever brought to this channel, and that is saying a lot. I'm done. So, yeah, that's it for the video. Good fun, have luck, and we'll see you next time.